Hello everyone, welcome back to Charmed Rewind. It's February, woo! Everyone's excited about February.
Worst month.
It's cold, it's a short month.
It's cold out there.
It's cold out there. Everyone loves it.
Yeah.
Everyone excited about Valentine's Day or something. Really a lot to look forward to in the world. But hey, we got Charmed. We got Charmed to bring us up.
Yeah.
Lift our spirits.
Or at least in one of the first seasons.
Yeah, that's true. We're all the way back to Season 2, Episode 3, The Painted World. So this is just coming out of Season 1, but they've refined themselves just a little bit. There's still a little bit of that early season awkwardness, but in a charming way. It's not even the first time I've said that.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah, we watched this. Should we get into it?
Yeah, we watched this.
We watched this. Well, see you guys next week.
B-. We're out.
B-. That was all right. See ya. Big gulps, huh? Well, see ya.
We'll see ya.
So anyway, the first scene of this episode is at Buckland's. Prue's still at Buckland's. She's going to transition to the photography thing this season, but she's still working.
Good old Ducklands.
Good old Ducklands.
Looks like it says Ducklands at one point because of the glare on the side.
Prue is praising a 1920s castle painting for a woman named Jane Franklin. And she says that this painting's been in her family for generations, but she's in an awful hurry to get out of there. She's like, sell the shit out of this.
She's like, this is a realistic story. I need to get rid of this as quick as possible, so I thought I'd come in and have it appraised.
That's true. Yeah. Doesn't really add up, but that's on purpose. She's lying.
Well, also means Prue should have thought about that.
That's true. Prue's like, yeah, she's acting kind of dodgy and like, I don't care about the actual price. I just, just sell it as quick as possible. It's like, you'd at least think maybe she stole it or something.
Yeah.
Surely you deal with some shifty people
Where
in
she
your business.
dashes out too. It's like, yeah.
Leaves a little poop behind her. Meanwhile, Phoebe has backed Prue's car into a pole.
Classic Phoebe.
Classic Phoebe. She's in her fuck-up era.
Yeah. Which is at least more amusing than her column era.
I guess she never left her fuck-up era, but at least that's supposed to be part of her character at this point.
The show acknowledged she's a fuck-up at this point. They don't act
like she's true and honorable and sacrificing everything for being a fucking idiot. So she's on the phone with Piper. She's telling her to keep this a secret. She doesn't want to lose she doesn't want to lose Prue's trust, so keeping this a secret is the best way to do that.
I will lie.
I will lie. Typical sitcom plot.
It's so stupid, too, because she's going in for an interview and she's like, oh, yeah, if I get this job, I'll be able to pay to get the car fixed. And like, it's not going to be instantly fixed. Prue's still going to notice her car is missing.
Yeah, you'd at least 2 weeks for a paycheck if you start immediately. Yeah. So, are you going to hide this from her for 2 weeks or what?
I'll just cast a spell on her. Like, your car is in the driveway.
This is all a perfect plan. And when eventually Prue finds out in the episode, she doesn't really seem to care that much.
No.
So...
It's just stupid Phoebe.
So anyway, yeah, Phoebe has a plan to get the money to fix the car. She's applying to a company called Web San Francisco, which she describes as an interactive network on the internet. That's all you need to know, huh?
Yeah.
This is supposed to demonstrate that she is dumb and this is a smart person thing, but this is the 90s interpretation of what the internet is, so it sounds pretty dumb.
It's dumb, but it's also she's dumb for going to apply for a job she clearly knows nothing about.
She could have applied for any other job. You don't have to apply for the job that you need to take an aptitude test to know all this other stuff.
And you're supposed to know coding. Because someone drops like, oh, everyone knows HTML these days or whatever. And she's like, oh, oops, like that would have been in the job description.
Yeah, like, and she said that they liked her resume. What was on her resume that made them think that she should apply for this web job? Like, I think the only jobs we've seen her do on the show is when she was like the amazing Phoebe as a fortune teller. So.
I think she had a very nice crayon picture with a smiling sun.
She drew a sperm with a smiley face on it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're hired."
It had a text bubble. It said HTML. Like, HTML. Oh, yeah. She knows internet.
What do you know about the World Wide Web? So she gets to this interview, and immediately she sees a problem. Everyone there looks smart, and she dumb. This is a plot important thing. She dumb.
She dumb. She come in and drool on them and they go, what?
This is the episode that establishes that she is canonically stupid. So everything after this, every dumb thing that she does, it's explained because she's dumb as a sack of rocks.
I mean, they said she's dumb before this, right? But this is just, I guess, highlighting how dumb she is.
Her whole plot this episode is she's stupid. She's in a room full of beige suits, the smart people uniform. She's like, damn,
she's the
know.
Lady in red.
Yeah. I don't know. I was supposed to wear a beige suit to this interview.
She's like, how do I become the nanny?
Yeah.
Shut up.
She goes up to the secretary, and she's given an aptitude test and a sarcastic comment. Like, oh, you figured out they're here for this interview, huh? Well, let's take this aptitude test. Stupid. Everyone around here is talking about, like, smart stuff. And even the secretary is like, yeah, I went to Stanford. And Phoebe reacts to this by mouthing whatever. Whatever.
She's like, I went to McDonald's.
McDonald's wouldn't take her. She just kept sticking her hand in the fryer. Ow! I'm trying to pick up the fries. Ow!
She wrote on her resume, I graduated from McDonald Land. Very impressive.
She put her kindergarten graduation papers in with it. And they're like, I like this. She shall become our jester.
We'll throw her crumbs when she pleases us.
They want to put her in a cage and then laugh at her while they decode. It's going to work out for her. The jester pays really good. The guy next to her is reading a paper called Investors Business Daily. I read Investors Business Daily. Well, he assures her this test is a snap. Don't worry about it. He says, in this day and age, who can't write in the HTML and numeric languages, right? Phoebe laughs this off before rudely shoving her clipboard into some random guy's lap and leaving. It's not his fault you're stupid.
Yeah.
He didn't even say anything to her.
Not his fault that you didn't read the job description.
Yeah, some people were rude to her. That guy wasn't. He was just sitting there.
They could have had it be a job that she maybe feasibly thought she could do and then got there and saw is something they expected people to be more qualified for. But this is just the basics of the job.
Yeah, I don't know how her resume slipped through the cracks there because I'm not sure what was on there that they thought was worth bringing her in for the job or the application. But
yeah.
Meanwhile, at Buckland's, one of the windows in the painting begins to glow. So Prue glabs...
She glabs it.
She glabs a magnifying glass, and then she sees a man in the window.
Like a man!
What?
A man! And then the episode's done.
She goes, I didn't want him to die. I just wanted him to be trapped in the painting forever. Yeah, I feel like at this stage of the episode, it's vaguely creepy. She sees this painting, and then in the dark, she sees this guy kind of in the window and then run out of the way. And they were kind of setting something up.
It's a decent setup.
Yeah,
mystery.
It doesn't really have a payoff to that, but there's sort of a creepy setup.
Yeah, definitely could have been executed better later, but at this point it's working okay.
It reminds me of, I think that was a part of the movie The Witches, where there was like a painting with a woman inside it, and like she changes position whenever they look at her. I thought that was pretty creepy.
Mm-hmm.
It was creepier than Charmed, but you know, kind of shades of that.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, she sees this and then rushes home to make a healthy snack. She's got like a container with some vegetables and stuff. There's a basket of fruit, a Ziploc thing turned toward the camera.
Mm-hmm. Probably got raisins in there.
Yeah, probably raisins. She's making ants on a log. In the kitchen, she discusses what she saw with Piper, who could not give a shit.
This is terrible.
This is
the beginning of
Piper.
season 2, Piper. You can't be like this already.
This is pretty bad for early Piper. Like, she's basically like, don't give a shit about things, and then complains at Prue, and then acts like she's right through the whole thing.
Yeah, she goes like, don't go looking for more things, Prue. It's like... She doesn't even acknowledge at first when Prue's telling her she saw someone in this painting. She's just going on about the club needing repairs and stuff.
Oh, yeah, because she's focused on a thing with P3. There's these safety code violations she has to fix, and she's like, who cares if the exit's too narrow? Let them die in a fire.
But, can you imagine someone tells you, I saw someone moving around in the painting, and you don't even care enough to acknowledge that they said it?
No, because all she cares about is her own thing. Stuff at the club and neighbor Dan. She's off in Piper world.
Damn Piper.
Prue is like, hey, why don't you shut up and stop obsessing over this? And Piper's like, you stop obsessing about that man in the painting. You're just looking for trouble.
No, she's right to wonder about something moving in a painting.
No, Piper is actually proven right in this episode, and Prue has to, like, promise not to give a shit about people in the future. So, I guess the lesson is don't care about anything.
Yeah, the lesson is never try.
Never try. So Phoebe enters the room. She's actually being helpful, because it's early Phoebe. She's just searched through the Book of Shadows, and she's found nothing about this painting. Man.
She's found nothing, and she's all out of ideas.
She's all out of ideas. So Piper's like, hey, how'd the interview go? And then they both make stink faces at each other. Phoebe's like, well, I got this aptitude test to take, so I'm going to go. Guess no one's too worried about this painting, man. She's like, I'm leaving this plot. But before she goes, Prue asks about her car keys, and then Phoebe has to fess up. So all of this, like, oh no, what am I going to do? She's immediately like, oh yeah, okay, well.
Yeah, she thought if she just kept avoiding Prue, it would never come up, that she might want her damn car back.
Yeah, it's not like Prue had to needle her that much about it. It's like, hey, where are my car keys? Oh, well, I backed up into the pole.
I crashed into absolutely everything possible.
It was like that scene in Austin Powers. She just kept going back and forth and hitting the walls.
She's like driving, like just the shell of the car by the end comes out of the smoke, and it's just the frame falling over.
She drove into the hallway at P3 and it was too narrow, so she couldn't get through it. And then,
Piper, this is your fault!
The safety code violations. You didn't fix it. So Phoebe is feeling pretty sorry for herself. She says what everyone's thinking. She's irresponsible and stupid. And Prue doesn't seem to really care about the car. She's like, hey, no, you're not stupid.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah, Phoebe's determined to prove her wrong in this episode. Prue's being pretty generous, considering Phoebe just wrecked her car.
Yeah.
But Phoebe's stuck on this stupid thing. Because she's the fuck up. She's feeling sorry for herself. Piper is like, this doesn't relate to me. I'm going to go. And Prue also wants out of this conversation. She's like, oh, well, if I have to listen to Phoebe whine, I'm going to leave too. I don't care about my car. I got to get out of here. So Phoebe storms off upset. Prue is a little concerned. Piper is not. She's like, I'm going to go see neighbor Dan. Bye. So Prue decides she's going to give up on the Phoebe thing. She doesn't care now. And then she's like, but what about this painting man? Let's get back to the painting man. And Piper's like, just forget about him. Stop looking for trouble. And then goes to see neighbor Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Neighbor Dan greets Piper in his sexy tank top and choker necklace, his hair perfectly greased. He calls himself Neighbor Dan.
He actually refers to himself as Neighbor Dan. He's like, and you want old Neighbor Dan to help you with your club problems.
Forgot, like, he's Neighbor Dan. That's just what he's called. He doesn't even know his last name. He thinks Dan is his last name. He's Mr. Dan. First name Neighbor. So Piper wants some help getting rid of these code violations. And because Neighbor Dan is a construction worker, she thinks he knows all of these very specific skills that she need to fix all of this stuff. This isn't just construction. Like, there's specific people for specific jobs. Like, widening your hallway. Like, that's a whole infrastructure thing.
He's like, Piper, I have no skills.
I have no skills whatsoever. This is when neighbor Jenny runs by.
Jenny Appleseed herself.
Appleseed. We finally landed on a neighbor Jenny episode. I don't think we ever have covered
rare.
one of them. Yeah, there's 4 of them, so pretty hard. There's 178 episodes, so when you do the random number generator.
All the potential Jenny Appleseed they never got to.
For people who don't remember, Jenny, she was neighbor Dan's niece. She was in 4 episodes, but somehow was in the opening title credits.
Because they clearly thought this would be a thing before they're like,
Yeah, they wrote her out literally because they didn't know what her purpose was. That's the entire reason she was written out. They're like, what are we doing? I don't know.
I would think that the plot would have been that she's going to learn magic and stuff from them. But
you would think they're adding
they
like
stopped before they even had a hint of that.
Yeah, you'd think it's like a Cousin Oliver situation or something, but it's nothing.
Teaching the next generation. It's a good thing we didn't throw this book out.
Yeah, well, she'd just go the way of Billy and get bitched at and have to do everything for him.
Yeah, that's what would have been her future if she stayed.
This is unfortunately the episode where she has the most to do. And it just involves her having a biology paper.
Having a sperm test.
A sperm test. This is something that's easy to miss. When she comes out of the house, she calls neighbor Dan Uncle D. She's like, hey, Uncle D.
Hey, Big D.
Hey, Big D. And Piper's like, I want the D. Old neighbor Dan. Neighbor D.
That old neighbor D to solve your problems, do you? Well, that doesn't amount to jack squat.
You're going to send me out of the show and I'll be living in the van down by the river.
Not for long, Dan. You're about to go missing.
Emperor Palpatine lightning.
Neighbor Dan.
And then Phoebe runs over him with the shell of Prue's car.
Phoebe, how did you hit that?
So neighbor Dan is like, well, if I do you a favor, you gotta do me a favor.
You gotta do me a flavor.
You gotta do me a flavor. If I help you with these code violations, you gotta help Jenny with this biology paper about reproduction. Because that's awkward for me to talk with my niece about. So I figured I'd get my neighbor to help her write a paper about sex. They keep talking about it, like, about sex, and it's like, how much of this, if you're talking about reproductive organs, I mean, I guess it's about sex, but it's like, this is scientific sex stuff. It's not like she's getting the sex talk.
Right.
Naked woman!
I don't remember how old she is, but she's old enough.
Yeah.
She even says later in the episode, she knows.
She's like, I'm old enough not to be living with Dan, and that's why she takes off.
Yeah, she runs away and nobody cared. So he's like, yeah, it's icky to talk about the reproductive system with my niece, so you do it. At Buckland's, Prue meets with Jane again, and she's like, hey, what about this man in the painting, huh? And Jane's like, oh, yeah, this always happens. People see the man in the painting, then they go insane. Can you sell it for me, please? I don't know
Just
why.
sell!
Yeah, I know she's... Okay, so spoiler alert, this is all a lie, right? She's a bad guy, and she's trying to get Prue to mess with this painting, but why does she add the part about people going insane if she's trying to set it up so she thinks he's in danger and then Prue has got to go save him?
Yeah.
Why add the danger
Not the
element to that?
greatest plan.
Yeah, it
could fail at any moment if you just make people think, oh, they shouldn't mess with the painting at all.
Yeah, like, I don't know why she added that.
Yeah. It's like, Oh no, I thought I was going insane. It seems like there's someone who needs help in there. Like that could have been her backstory, which would help better to achieve what she wants.
She honestly could have just come up and said like, hey, I know that this is weird, but I think there's something up with this painting. Can you help? And that would have made it a lot quicker.
That makes
she could have even said sense. Like, because she knew that there was, the whole point was she wants it to get x-rayed so they can reveal the hidden writing on it. And like she could have just said like, hey, I think there was some hidden writing on it, like someone in my family talked about it, that could help us, but she doesn't.
It falls apart with the twist.
So anyway, back at the house, Phoebe is tired of being stupid. Dumb Phoebe. So she's like, I know, I'll cast a smart spell on myself. We've made it to the legendary Phoebe casts a smart spell episode.
Cast a smart spell.
It's so dumb.
Oh, it's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
That's the only reason people voted for this one, by the way. That's why it tied with the stupid Necromancer Grandma Ghost Haterade episode. It's not because this episode's that legendarily bad, although the stuff with neighbor Jenny and the smart spell are pretty funny, but it's just this subplot about a smart spell. People think it's funny because Phoebe was stupid.
I do love, though, Piper comes in and does not really hide how dumb she thinks Phoebe is. And has a conversation like, try not to outdumb yourself, dummy.
Well, don't stick a fork in a light socket while I'm away.
Yeah.
Gotta go baby-proof the house.
Know how dumb you are, Phoebe. Trap yourself in a jar or something.
She even said, like, when she leaves the room, she's like, she's about to say, don't do something stupid. And then Phoebe's like, don't do just something stupid. And she's like,
no, don't do something that I wouldn't do.
And then she leaves, and Phoebe's like,
you wouldn't cast a smart spell on yourself.
Don't do something Phoebe-ish.
Yeah, don't be stupid.
So Phoebe is stupid. She casts a smart spell on herself, but she's got a loophole for this personal gain thing. She says the spell and she goes, P.S. there will be no personal gain.
I don't know why they didn't just attach that all the time.
Apparently this works, though.
I guess it worked.
Personal gain.
Yeah, she doesn't get any punishment for this, so that's all you had to do. Say, P.S. no personal gain.
Yeah, the only problem that arises from this is that it's temporary, but it's not a
But she knew it was going to be temporary.
Yeah, like she knew it was going to be temporary and run out at a certain time, so like, what was the consequences? Nothing.
So you can just do that with anything, I guess. Magic is stupid. It doesn't matter if it is actually personal gain. If you tell the spell it's not, it'll believe you.
Maybe
that's
why...
the spell is Phoebe. Very dumb.
Maybe they stopped talking about personal gain because they found this loophole. So every spell they do from here on out, under their breath, they're like, P.S. no personal gain. No takesies backsies. So this is when she picks up a dictionary and absorbs all of the words. The pages are flying by, and she's picking up all the information. Now she knows that abaca is a fiber obtained from a banana leaf. I can't tell you how many times that's going to come up in her life.
She's like, next interview, banana plantation.
She's a walking banana plantation.
And she's like, the pen is mightier than the sword, and she throws the book at the warlock.
That would be really funny.
The penis mightier. Like, that'll work for Jenny's test.
Yeah. It all comes together. So at Buckland's, Prue is talking to Joe. Good old Joe. You remember Joe?
Joe.
He's a guy that works there. He's only in this episode.
He's like, I'm going to try and give Phoebe a run for her money.
Joe!
Joe! We saw paintings here?
Huh?
What painting?
He's walking around with like a piece of toilet paper on his shoe.
Like, save that for later.
That's when Piper disappears in front of him later. He's just like, huh?
Yeah, he does not. Piper just like, I have no time for this stupidity. I don't even care to hide it. Yeah. Freeze him and leave.
We're joking because he has no personality, but maybe he was stupid because nothing came of that.
You know.
So anyway, he's just x-rayed the painting. They're trying to determine if it's authentic. And it turns out that there's some hidden writing there. Prue is looking at the x-ray. She says the words aloud, but I guess because she's not looking at the painting, it doesn't count the first time, because nothing happens the first time.
That's weird.
Joe is super impressed with her Latin skills. You can read Latin? You would think
you can read?
Huh? Can you teach me? And Phoebe comes in like, me first.
I do not spell. I teach you read.
Phoebe crashes in with the husk of the car and goes like, I don't read now.
Phoebe.
Well, I'm not saying you have to know how to read Latin to be an appraiser of old art, but I feel like you'd be familiar with some of this stuff. Like, it shouldn't be that surprising that someone who works with really old artwork would be familiar with Latin or other things that were...
It shouldn't be super shocking that she might be in on that a little.
Yeah. But anyway, Joe leaves the room. Prue reads the words again, but I guess because she's like a foot closer to the painting this time, it does something, and she's sucked inside.
The painting hurt her this time.
The painting hurt her. Yeah, I don't know, because it didn't seem to matter later in the episode where anyone's standing when they say the words.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the first time, it didn't
just
do
wasn't
anything.
paying attention.
Yeah, it's not like it would have mattered if she got sucked in front of Joe. He would have been like, oh, someone was standing in front of me. Oh, well, I'm leaving.
Yeah. Well, falls out the window.
As Prue is getting sucked in, her line delivery is so funny here. She just flatly goes, oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Here we go again.
Oh, I'm not afraid of you. No.
I'm not afraid anymore.
So into the painting castle she goes. She arrives there and a fireball shoots at her, but she's saved by the painting man. His name is Malcolm, and he scolds Prue for getting trapped instead of helping him. What a dick.
Wow.
Hope he didn't turn out to be a bad guy.
His stupid cover, that he's supposedly a normal guy who was trapped in here by his vengeful ex-girlfriend for 70 years. He doesn't act desperate at all, like he's someone who's been in here for this length of time.
But he was. He just was a bad guy.
Supposedly, but I guess the warlock can deal with it easier.
I don't know.
He should be, so the human contact again, 70 years?
Yeah.
He's just kind of like, you're supposed to get me out of here instead of falling in too, Shouldn't
he just be covered in sweat stains and his own filth and stuff from there's no shower in there, is there? He's been running around 70 years. He looks pretty well put together.
Do you not have to eat in there? I don't know.
I guess
Do
not.
warlock
Maybe that's part of the curse. I have no idea. Yeah, he also says that he's an art historian. That's his cover, that that's how he read it. And then she's like, oh, you must have x-rayed it too. I don't know, when were x-rays invented? Is this supposed to be the 20s when he was sucked in there? I'm gonna look it up because someone's gonna be like, actually,
I don't think x-rays were around then.
Oh, I'm wrong. They were invented in 1895.
Oh.
So I guess Charmed got 1 point over on me. Well, anyway, at the house, Kit still exists. The cat hadn't passed away yet, so they're still using it.
Yeah, it's weird to see the cat actually used again.
The cat's actually part of the plot and stuff, and they actually care about their cat.
Yeah.
Kit wanders by just to set up. Kit exists because she'll be used later in the episode. Phoebe says some smart stuff. But she's not smart enough to notice that Prue's missing.
I was looking at the paper and one of this stuff.
And then Piper's like, hey, where's Prue?
I don't know. Somewhere.
Somewhere, I guess.
Piper is like, hey, maybe that painting guy was something. Maybe we shouldn't have ignored that. During all of this, she's like, hey, what up with Phoebe? She ain't no dum-dum anymore.
Hey, what's up with you? You're smart. I thought you're supposed to be fucking stupid.
Phoebe, why are you not licking the paint off the walls?
To continue with the theme of we know the interwebs, she says that Phoebe is like AskRainman.com.
.org.biz.
She immediately knows that Phoebe did something dumb to become smart, but she's more focused on the Prue thing, so she decides she's going to go to Buckland's. But Phoebe's like, wait, before we decide to care about Prue, do you like neighbor Dan? Kissy face.
Next thing we see is Phoebe getting tossed out the window.
Instead of Phoebe going to check on Prue, Piper is like, you go to P3 in my place to talk to neighbor Dan?
Yeah.
Why doesn't Phoebe go? What is Phoebe doing? Just being stupid and smart?
Just being smartly stupid.
Smartly stupid? She just quotes a bunch of stuff while still being a dum-dum?
She's the smartest dumb guy I know.
No, she's too focused on teasing Piper about neighbor Dan. Like, ew, you gotta crash. So, inside the painting, Malcolm's been injured, but he won't let Prue help. This is so he can plant the seed that he was hurt by a witch in the past, his girlfriend, who he broke up with, and then she trapped him in a painting. This is all a lie because he's a warlock, but he's just trying to get her to feel sorry for him.
Like, wait a second, I thought warlocks don't bleed.
Did they say that in an episode?
They do.
Wait, what episode did they say they don't bleed again?
I think it's just later in this season.
Later in the season?
Yeah.
Fuck, this sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah, they don't bleed. Yeah, he sure does bleed.
I'm bleeding, making me the victor.
But Prue's like, we gotta work together if we're gonna get out of here. Plus, my sisters might help if they stop focusing on health code violations and smart spells. Meanwhile, smart spell Phoebe is at P3 with neighbor Dan to go over the health code violations. And she's read up on it, so now she knows all this stuff about health code and construction and all that. To demonstrate that she knows this stuff now, she's wearing a sexy crop top and a hard hat.
I wear a hard hat because I'm smart.
You're so smart. You know, our sister's missing, so you know what the priority is? Fix the club!
They could have just said, hey, neighbor Dan, we're going to look at this later, but...
Yeah, no. You can put that off if your sister's gone missing.
Phoebe is like, hey, Piper couldn't come. Sorry, bud. And walks away, and neighbor Dan smiles disappointedly. Like he's just like, all right, just smiling.
He
like
does a lot of weird kind of smile, passive-aggressive anger in this episode, because he does it at the end too, like I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, he's a creepy weirdo.
He is.
So Piper shows up at Buckland's. That's when Joe arrives. Good old Joe, and he goes, duh! What you doing here?
I met you once, you remember that? And I was like, oh, you're a sister of the girl I work with. And then she freezes him and leaves.
It's like that kid in the pork chop sandwiches meme. You know, and you send me do things about pork chop sandwiches. Anyway, people of the old internet will get that one.
Not Phoebe.
Not Phoebe. She doesn't know maybe she knows the internet now. She is AskRainman.com.
Yeah, she put that on her resume. Pork chop sandwiches, G.I. Joe. Like,
Joe.
whoa. Yeah. This is impressive. Come on in.
So Piper's like, I ain't dealing with this shit. So she just freezes Joe and then takes the painting. So she makes, he unfreezes when she leaves the room, and nothing comes of this.
Yeah.
She just blinked
He's
out
just
of
like,
existence.
Huh?
Never
I
seen
thought I
again.
was talking to someone, but oh well. And then he explodes.
Yeah. Presumably he died. He got trapped in another painting and nobody cared. So Peeper's got the painting. By carrying it, this causes the painting world to shake like an episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know, they're all falling around.
Yeah.
Ah! Inside there, Malcolm is mildly sexist. He's like, I never expected it. I'd be rescued by a woman. Why does he do this if he wants her on his side?
He's dumb.
Is it just because he can't resist? Because he's a warlock?
Yeah.
Because
Just, no one's good at trying to sell their story.
Back at the manor, Phoebe is watching Win Ben Stein's Money.
That the smart people show.
This is like, going back to that, it's like it gave me psychic damage of like remembering watching Comedy Central during that time and like just how dumb it was. But this is supposed to indicate that she's smart.
Yeah.
But I think it indicates her true nature.
They
being
couldn't
stupid.
afford to put Jeopardy on there, so they get Ben Stein's money.
Stein's money. When Ben Stein's money gave them money to put them on the air and give them promotion, and people are like, "Wow, that show looks terrible. I'm never watching that." Charmed fans are like, "You ain't fooling us. I see Jimmy Kimmel there of the Man Show fame." So anyway, Piper shows up with the painting. She's also got the X-ray. Phoebe is a little bit concerned about this, but not concerned enough to stop focusing on Win Ben Stein's money. So she does what anyone trying to hide that she's cast a smart spell on herself would do. She just starts saying all the answers and acting really smart. So it's obvious that she did something.
And Piper's like, Phoebe, why have you not stuck a fork in a light socket yet?
Piper's like,
I know you're stupid. You cast a smart spell.
Look, you dummy! Why are you still alive?
What are you doing? I specifically left that fork in your room so we could get rid of you. Get Paige in here. You should have been the one who died.
Only.
So Piper is like, there's personal gain. There will be consequences, which we've established there aren't.
No.
And Phoebe says she doesn't care. She likes being smart.
I don't care.
Never thought of it that way.
Despite Phoebe being smart, she didn't think about what Piper points out. Once your smart spell ends, like, how are you going to keep doing the job that you applied for that you don't know how to do?
And it didn't even give her any time to really get the job with the length of how the smart spell lasted.
Yeah, it's only like 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's a day.
She couldn't think of that even when she's smart. She couldn't think of that.
Yeah, like, what? But Phoebe's like, I was going to worry about it later. She starts to storm out of the room, and then Piper's like,
Hey, wait a second, real quick. What does it say on this X-ray?
and then gets sucked into the painting. It really is a rush job for her to do that real quick before Phoebe makes it up the stairs.
Yeah.
Wait, watch this! Ah!
It's Mac and me sucked into the straw.
Yeah, the vacuum.
Yeah. So now it's up to dumbass Phoebe to save the day. This is actually a running joke in the episode. They're like, uh-oh, dumb Phoebe.
I love this. I love that when Piper gets in there and she says, oh yeah, smart Phoebe will get us out. And Prue's like, smart Phoebe? I don't think so.
You're just making it worse.
It's not fucking true, Piper.
It's like, no, the dumbass cast a smart spell on her still. She's smart temporarily, so we got to get the smart one to help us, because when she's dumb again, we're fucked!
It's a countdown to like, the ticking clock to when Phoebe becomes stupid again and they're fucked.
They should have had a timer.
Countdown to indumining of Phoebe. She gets the, Prue gets the same energy of Richard Dean Anderson in Stargate when he's like, oh yes, Merlin! Oh yes, smart Phoebe! I love this too. When Piper appears in the painting, the first thing we see is her screaming, running away from fireballs. Like, ah!
They told me the fire wouldn't come for me yet!
And then Malcolm sees this, like she's screaming and whining. She breaks her shoe, and he's like, "Oh, so this is the sister's gonna come rescue us, huh?"
We're doomed.
And he says this, and then they go to commercial break with like a generic suspense thing.
It's very weird.
It's weird at this point of the show, even in early season 2, to still be using that shitty ass cheap music.
It's just oddly placed too, because there's nothing that big that just dropped at that moment.
Yeah, he basically just goes like, Piper seems like she sucks. But to be fair, when they come back from commercial, she proceeds to annoy the shit out of them by complaining. She's like,
I don't want to live forever in a painting. I broke my show.
and Prue's like, well, if we get past these fireballs, we can write a message on the window and get it to Phoebe. And that's when they have the conversation where it's like, send a message to Phoebe. Oh, no. But then Piper explains, no, she's smart right now. She's an Einstein with cleavage.
This is how she talks about her sister.
An Einstein with cleavage.
She's smart, but I still don't think that much of her.
Yeah.
Do you like nice girls or naughty girls?
And then they're like, all right, it's the countdown to dumbass Phoebe. We gotta get this message to her before her brain turns to mush.
Before it shuts back down.
Before it shuts back down. Somehow we gotta get her attention away from Win Ben Stein's money.
Meanwhile, that's what she's watching, trying to impress no one.
It's dumber than that. So Phoebe is searching through the Book of Shadows for answers, but that's when neighbor Jenny rings the doorbell. And Phoebe's like, unless this is a 911 emergency, you gotta come back later. But Jenny is like, it is a fucking 911 emergency.
It's a test.
I have a biology paper coming up, and
I have a sperm test.
I have a sperm test to do. Help me with the sperm test. 911.
Okay, I'll draw the sperm with my crayons.
She might as well have. It's one step away from that. Even within the story of the show, this is not an emergency to Jenny. She doesn't care.
No, she doesn't. So why was she so insistent?
Emergency, and she's like, can I hang out and watch TV? Fuck you! Get out of here!
She just wanted to get away from Dan, which maybe that's an emergency.
Yeah. She was sitting there greasing up his hair, and she just couldn't stand it.
Look, I've already got emotion that I'm getting the hell out of here. I just need to avoid that guy for a little bit.
I'm gonna have a bonding moment with Phoebe. Maybe one of our only scenes together.
I need to talk to her while she's temporarily smart because I can't stand her normal.
So, in the painting, Piper bitches at Prue. So Prue says next time she gets a supernatural SOS, she's going to ignore it like she told her to.
Yeah, that's the lesson.
The lesson
never
is
help
never
anyone.
anyone.
Season 2.
Piper is running to get to the window. They're like dodging fireballs. Prue's like using her powers to make them go away. And then Malcolm warns her last second about the window having these swords to protect it. I guess it makes sense because he's like evil the whole time. So maybe he was trying to kill her because he could have told her at any point before this that, hey, when you get to the window, swords are going to come out and try and kill you.
You think you'd want all the help he can to get out first.
Yeah.
Also, the swords look really flimsy, so maybe that's why he's like, I think she would break the swords before they would hurt her.
These swords could not look more like wood.
Yeah.
Like they're so dull looking
So
and like
bad.
Prue has to use her powers to push back these hilariously fake swords. Yeah!
To use her powers not to laugh at the swords.
Basically what kids use at Renaissance fairs. So Piper writes the clue in the window. This is the name of the witch that cursed him into the painting. Part of this plan was to get Phoebe to look up this witch with the clue and then find out how to get them out of there. But if they knew that she could find this out, wouldn't the warlock also know that she would find out he's a warlock?
Yep.
I guess it doesn't come into play, but you would think.
Yeah, you would think.
Oh, well.
No one thought.
Why does he... Yeah, I don't know why he gives her the witch's real name to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it kind of works out with his story later, but, like, he didn't know the plan was going to be to write it in the window so they could look it up.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
They also freeze a fireball and put it behind the writing so that it'll light up, which is what the warlock had to do earlier.
I don't know how he did. He doesn't have freezing powers. So.
No, I guess he'd have to have been using fire or something from a distance, maybe. But they should have thought about that. They do eventually voice that. That doesn't really make sense. How did he do it? If he's a normal man, just a normal man.
A normal man.
He's a normal man.
We're just normal men.
Normal men. I love that I'm a normal man.
And jingle all the way.
I had to get Turbo Man out of the painting. Oh, Jenny! You win the Turbo Man, Jenny!
We got to talk about more serious stuff. Phoebe's got to help Jenny with a biology paper. Phoebe thinks that it's really weird that Dan wanted his neighbor to help his niece with a paper about reproduction. And neighbor Jenny is just like, yeah, I already know about sex, so I figured we could just hang out and watch TV. Like,
yeah, like the emergency it was.
The emergency it was. Fuck you. So this is when the window in the painting lights up. Phoebe sees the clue, so she's got to get rid of Jenny. She quickly draws some shit about reproduction and shoos her out of the house.
Yeah.
At first, she starts to write, like, legitimate stuff about it, and then Jenny gives her this look like, what? And she's like, oh, this is too complicated. And it's like, the paper was supposed to be how this works.
Yeah.
So instead, she dumbs it down to drawing a picture for her.
Yeah.
Which is
sperm penetrating an egg.
Yeah, it's just an egg and a bunch of sperm with a smiley face and some arrows saying us, them.
Yeah. And then it says HTML.
HTML. TMI. WTF. And then they play like a weird comedy music sting over her looking at the paint. It was basically a wah-wah sting. It was the Seinfeld music. I'm not saying it right, but so, meanwhile, Jane is watching the house suspiciously. Phoebe finds the clue in the Book of Shadows. This reveals that Malcolm's a warlock. Shock, what a twist! Inside the painting, Prue realizes that Phoebe must have found this out and the audience knows, so she starts to get suspicious of Malcolm's story. Just then, Kit arrives with the spell to set them free on her collar. It's not explained how Phoebe sent Kit into the painting.
Yeah.
The only way to get in the painting is to say the spell, and like the cat can't say the spell.
She set the cat near the painting and then yelled it from the other side of the room.
I don't know. This doesn't make any sense. They're like, oh, it was so smart you did that. It's like, yeah, but they don't explain how she did that.
Maybe Kit used turbo boost.
Yeah. Piper and Prue realize that Malcolm's evil now, so now that they've realized this, he starts jump cutting around the room and talking like a 1920s gangster.
It's so,
now that you know
yeah.
I'm evil, I talk like this.
I'm an old-timey con man. Ha! You should have seen it coming.
You thought you could get me? Well, I pulled one over on you. I couldn't talk like this if I was good. This is an evil talk.
Their jaws just hit the floor.
He's got the collar, so he says the spell, gets himself out of there, and then Piper tells Prue that she isn't talking to her forever.
That's what you get for helping someone, you bitch.
So Malcolm appears at the house. He does this whole villain speech to Phoebe to explain everything. Jane is his lover. She's been trying to get him out of the painting for 70 years. I don't know why she doesn't age either. Not explained. He was cursed in the painting, so that they explained that they never age. I don't know why she doesn't age.
Do warlocks never age?
I feel like they do, because they said that he didn't age because of the painting.
I don't know. It doesn't
Unless
make any
maybe they're
sense.
supposed to not age, but he just said that to explain it.
What was she doing around dicking around for 70 years? It took her this long to go, maybe I can trick someone into getting them out?
I think she was looking specifically for the charmed ones. I don't know why it took, I guess because the charmed ones didn't
she's like,
until recently.
There's never charmed ones before.
Even though the power of threes existed for a while.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense in their universe, but they're not very consistent about that.
Maybe she does age, but she just looks really good for over 70. So after all this is revealed, Phoebe kicks him, does a backflip, and then kicks him again over the couch. And apparently she knows how to do this because she read a Jeet Kune Do manual.
Yeah, she really did the Matrix, whoa, I know Kung Fu. I read it back, whoa, I know Kung Fu. Shut up.
In the Matrix, they're programmed to do it.
Yeah, they program. This is dumber.
Reading a book, it's not like Ninja Turtles Michael Bay where he reads a book and suddenly knows Kung Fu, you know?
It's not like how it makes sense in that movie.
No, both of those things don't make sense. None of these things make sense. You can't read a book and automatically know how to do Kung Fu.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make you... It's not smart to be athletic. This is two different things. And then Malcolm's like, oh yeah, you can't take me down because once your smart spell ends, you won't be smart enough to do martial arts on me.
Oh yeah?
He jump cuts out of there to outside the house where Jane's standing. I guess he knew exactly where she was because that's where they're filming that day. The two of them decide to steal the Charmed One's powers when Phoebe's dumb again. They're just going to wait till 7 o'clock and then come back in the house and steal the powers. So inside the painting, Piper and Prue are having sort of a sad fest, but they foolishly cling to the hope that Phoebe could save them even without the smart spell.
That is just foolish.
Yeah. The smart spell wears off, and Phoebe can't even remember the spell to get them out. It's 3 words, and she can't remember it. So, you guys put your eggs in the dum-dum basket, and now you look like a dumb... Now, eggs on your face.
Check, what was I watching? Win Scott Steiner's money?
She does the math.
Yeah.
See, normally if you go one-on-one with another wrestler, you got a 50-50 chance of winning. But I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal. So you got a 25% at best at beating me.
So, it's exactly 7 o'clock. Like, it has just happened. They cut to the clock. Burp, 7 o'clock. She turns back into a pumpkin or whatever. And then Malcolm and Jane waltz back into the house like, hey, 7 o'clock. And then Jane sets the painting on fire with her finger.
Meanwhile, Phoebe set up Home Alone.
With her street smarts. It's pretty funny in HD. You can see the little apparatus they've added to the actress's finger to do the flame thing. Mm-hmm. Like when she holds it up from a distance, you can kind of see a little wire on there to set it up. So she set the painting on fire, and Phoebe's like, well, I'm just going to say the spell and then send us both into, all 3 of us into this burning painting. Mm-hmm. She said both because she thought there was 2 of them, even though it was 3. So she grabs them, they go into the burning painting, and during the course of all of this, she has picked his pocket and gotten the collar back. So they freeze the 2 of them, grab Kit herself, and then get out of the painting, leaving the warlocks to burn as they're frozen.
One of the greatest moments in the episode, though, is when Phoebe comes into the painting, Piper's utter shock, her still being alive. She goes, Phoebe, you're still alive?
Would have thought you would have choked on a Lego or something. Soon as her it's flowers for Algernon. Flowers for Phoebenon. The last shot, it's like she's just a dumb janitor again, and that's the end of the episode. Yeah, they leave them frozen to burn alive. And then when they cut back, Prue has this hilarious line where she goes, I don't want them to die, I just want them to be trapped in the painting forever.
You want them to be tortured in there forever?
Would that be more humane?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I love she just says that and they're like, oh well, and go back to like silly sister talk. And, so they just burn 2 people alive. They're like, hee. Hey, thanks, Phoebe, for saving us. How'd you do that thing with the collar? And then she's like, I picked his pocket because I used my street smarts. Smirk, smirk, smirk.
And then they start wrapping her in bubble wrap.
How is like picking a pocket smart, though? It's not street smarts, really. Like, it's a skill, but it's not really, I wouldn't really call that a smart.
Criminal skill.
Oh, well. So at P3, Neighbor Dan's talking to Piper, and all of the suggestions Phoebe gave him to fix the place up require way too much money. And
that's what a smart person does. They go, do all these things well past our budget.
Yeah. And Piper's like, can you fix it cheaply and quickly? And Neighbor Dan's like, sure thing. That's the best option for getting rid of a safety code violation. Yeah. Just cut corners.
Cut all the corners.
Have one guy.
Can I half-ass this job and do it poorly? Can I?
He's like, no, I won't do it by myself. I'll bring in my friend Joe. He'll help fix the place up.
Piper learns her explosion power and blows him up.
So neighbor Dan saunters across the room over to Phoebe and Prue, and he's like, hey, Phoebe, you can have back this picture of the smiling sperm. I would rather Jenny does the work herself, actually.
He does this, with that thinly veiled I will kill you smile.
Yep. Phoebe might have bungled some stuff, but she decided she's going to become smart for real. She's going to take some night classes at college.
Piper's kind of, it's cute.
Sometimes she might even wear glasses.
Try not to die on your way to school there.
They do a callback to some lines earlier where they're talking about, like, oh, I'll buy you some new shoes and a purse and blah, blah, blah. And they bought Phoebe a purse and some new shoes, some chunky 90s wedges. Or early 2000s. It might be 2000 at this point. They make some jokes about Phoebe's sperm drawing, fade to credits. What are your final thoughts on this episode, Phelan?
It's funny. It kind of falls apart. Like, I wish they had tried a bit more with the actual house once they're inside the painting. They could have made that kind of creepy and stuff, but it just came off kind of lame. There's like one fire spurter and some swords that'll pop up if you go near the window. Yeah, it did feel like their budget was about what P3's was. Kind of tight at this point. Yeah. They wouldn't even had to have done a lot of budget, I think, to make that feel creepier than it was. Like, this is a house where, like, reality's bending and all these weird things could happen. Yeah. You could do that on the cheap, but it just didn't feel like they tried at all. But, yeah, I mean, Phoebe does a smart spell. Kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This is a fun early season 2 episode. Like, there's dumb things about it, but it's fun dumb. The stuff with neighbor Dan and neighbor Jenny, it's pretty funny. The smart spell, all these kind of early things that are kind of clunky, but you can laugh at. Mm-hmm. So, who's your Margoyle or your Carman? My Margoyle, I guess, is just magic for accepting that this is not personal gain. Yeah, that worked. That is the dumbest thing. I feel like it'd be too obvious to give it to Phoebe, even though she's very stupid, even when she's smart. Because magic fell for her stupid loophole? Yeah, magic fell for her dumb loophole. Magic is the Margoyle. Do you have a Carman? It's gonna go to Piper, even though she's very dismissive of Prue several times, the way she demeans stupid Phoebe, and then is astonished she isn't dead because she was left alone for a few hours. That earns Piper the Carman. You have a Margoyle and Carman. Alright, Margoyle's gonna go to Joe. Okay. Because something could have happened with Piper disappearing in front of him, but he's got no questions written out of the episode. Yeah. Very dumb. This might also just have to do with our characterization of him being really dumb. The Carman is Prue, because she actually cares about people. She was tricked into this, but she shouldn't have been scolded for actually caring about people. Yeah. And she did save their asses inside the painting, so... Anything else about this episode? I think that's it. That's it. Well, if I was evil the whole time, you see? If you guys enjoyed this podcast, we'd appreciate it if you like, subscribe, or review wherever you're listening to this on the radio. You can watch us on YouTube under youtube.com/Movie Nights the Series and youtube.com/Phelan. You can support us on Patreon. Vote on which episodes to talk about on this very podcast at patreon.com/Movie Nights and patreon.com/Phelan. Thanks to Peter Hunter for editing the podcast for us and for the amazing theme song. You can see his stuff at Pretor Hunter. You should check out his YouTube channel. What hashtags, Phelan? Hashtag Phoebe Smart Stupid. Hashtag Flowers for Phoebenon. Hashtag Phoebe, you're alive? We'll see you Charmanders. Same bat place, same bat channel. Bye.